This is one of many a video that will hopefully give you guys some good golden marriage nuggets. So, I'm going to give my story today so you all can kind of get a backdrop for what it is that I want to help people with. I want to help people to have healthy marriages, healthier marriages, and to get over a lot of the bumps that inevitably come along whenever you are dedicated to one person. So, a little bit about me. I grew up in Texas, in a small town in Texas, my whole life. And then I went to Texas Tech University. And my junior year, I was like, which was only 30 minutes away from where I grew up, Lubbock is. So my junior year at Texas Tech, I'm like, I got to get out of here. Like I've always been the adventurous type. Like I was always wanting to do like foreign exchange or something like that, which I never did. And so I was like, I got to get out of here. I got to go like see the world. I got to do different things. So my junior year, I moved to LA and I started at FITM, which is like a Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. Anyway, so I started there, and quickly I realized that it wasn't for me because it was basically teaching me merchandising. And at the time, I felt like, okay, I could just go and work in retail, work my way up, and figure this out. And getting a degree in this isn't necessarily something that's going to suit me in the future, which who knows if that was the right decision, but that's what I decided. Okay, so after that, for that semester, I just ended up working on Robertson, just at a retail store or whatever, and just basically having like a crazy time in LA. You know, I was 21 and it was just fun. That's like back in the days when everybody was clubbing and, like paparazzi was out and it was just a good time. But wild, but good. It was fun. Anyway, so fast forward, I went back to Lubbock. I ended up going, of course, back to Texas Tech and finishing up my degree. So my senior year, I could do an internship anywhere. So I interned at 17 Magazine in New York City. I called and called and called and called and called. And finally, I got a hold of somebody there. And I was like, hey, I want to do an internship. And they're like, yeah, sure, whatever. It's like they're not paying me. So it was most beneficial to them. So anyway, I showed up and I started working at 17 Magazine. After that, I got a job at Bergdorf Goodman. I worked as a personal shopper's assistant, which was kind of like the Devil Wears Prada. I mean, it was pretty intense. And after that, I didn't last there, to be honest with you, because, and actually, it's so funny because all of these experiences in my life have, I mean, this goes without saying, but they've made me who I am today, right? So I tried all these things. I wouldn't commit because I didn't like the idea of feeling uncomfortable. Like I wanted to kind of be in control. I didn't want to be told what to do. And I didn't take criticism well. Granted, the lady that I worked with at Bergdorf Goodman, she wasn't very good at giving constructive criticism. She was like, she would yell at us and, it wasn't very good. But now I look back and I'm like, dang, I wish I would have just stuck it out because I would have learned so much. But anyway, after that, I ended up going to, it's called Arrojo Cosmetology School. It's still there. It's an amazing school. And I ended up getting my cosmetology license. So after that, I worked at the salon there as an assistant, and that was a really great experience. I had a lot of fun there. And of course, New York City in my 20s was a grand old time. I'll just leave it at that. But lots of fun. And, about 4 years into my stint in New York, I was like, it was really hard because I love New York City. I loved being in a walking city. New York has just got such a vibe. It's like, if you are an entrepreneur, if you're a creative type, like whatever, it's just like there's no place in the world like it. I miss it like to this day. I'm like, I would totally have a place in New York and just go for like a couple weeks at a time and then come back, to Florida. But anyway, I knew at the end of the day, it's so funny because I wasn't living the life that I should have been living. I was a party girl. I was doing all the things that you can imagine a party girl would be doing in her, early 20s in New York City. But it's so funny because the whole time God was like nudging me, like, don't do that. Like, because I grew up. I grew up in church. And so I would open up my Bible in New York City and just like read it, and I felt convicted, but I was still living in my flesh. I was living for the world, right? But, about 4 years in, I just felt like it was getting so crazy there. And just the things that I experienced and saw, I was like, I really don't need to be in this environment. Like, I knew it was wrong. Of course, again, I could have chosen to live differently there, but it was just the environment that I was in. I knew I needed to separate myself from that. So I ended up moving back to Lubbock, which was like a culture shock. Okay, so it was a complete culture shock to move back to Lubbock, Texas from New York City. I was like, where are all the clubs at? Like, where's the good restaurants and, the walkability? And I mean, it was just crazy. But anyway, and I was still living this life that I shouldn't have been living. I was still trying to party and all that stuff. But anyway, long story short, my now husband is someone who I met actually the summer before my freshman year in high school. And he and I, how that goes. You have like one or two dates and then you kind of go off and you like do your thing in high school and beyond. So that's what I had done. And anyway, he contacted me on Facebook, like really right at the tail end of my stay in New York City. And, I didn't think anything about it. And I moved back to Lubbock. He, after high school, went to the Marine Corps. So he had been in the Marine Corps for 8 years. And then when he contacted me, he had actually moved to Hawaii and opened up a tactical gear store. So I moved back to Lubbock and we kept, this relationship over, FaceTime, and we just built this friendship. And then eventually, it turned romantic and we couldn't like talk to each other enough. I mean, it's literally, y'all know, right? Like when you're in love, it's like you're addicted to that person. I mean, we would be on the phone like for hours and like fall asleep together on the phone. You know what I mean? It's cute to think about. So that happened with he and I, and he actually flew me out to Hawaii a couple of times. And one day I was back in Lubbock and I actually started attending nursing school. I know, it's wild. I've done so many things. But actually, I think it's been beneficial to me because I know about so many different industries and I've met so many people. Anyway, so one day I couldn't get a hold of him and I'm like, where the heck is Jason? Like, because we literally were like attached at the hip to one another and I couldn't get a hold of him. I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. Well, lo and behold, my doorbell rings there in Lubbock and it's him. He had flown from Hawaii to surprise me and he proposed right then and there. And I was like scared to say yes. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to get married. Like, I don't know if I want to like commit and like do all, you know what I mean? Like, I was just like, I don't know. I didn't know. And, but I said yes. I'm like, are you sure? Because we hadn't really been together that long. I mean, I think we probably had only been together like 8 months or something, and it was long distance and whatever. But he came and proposed. I said yes. And then ultimately he ended up selling his business in Hawaii. And, well, that's a whole other story. He got kind of like messed over by one of his partners there and it just basically dissolved. But anyway, so he ended up moving to Lubbock, Texas. We ended up getting married at the courthouse. We ended up officially getting married in October of 2013, I think. Isn't that awful? Like you forget, like I've got it written down, so I have to look at it and be like, wait a minute, how many years have we been married? Anyway, so we ended up getting married, and then a month after that, we moved to Sarasota, Florida, which is now where we currently reside. So that's the big, long story. That's the whole enchilada of our marriage, okay? So we have been married now, okay, so it'll be in October 5th, we'll be married for 13 years. And so while that may not be a lot compared to somebody who's been married for 60 years, we have also been through a lot. And I'm going to tell y'all a little bit about what we've been through. So I married my husband when he didn't have a college degree. He didn't really have any real world work experience. And I just knew that I loved him. And I had asked the Lord, I had come more to my faith once I moved back to Texas. I had come back to my faith, and I had prayed to the Lord. I'm like, just give me a good Christian man. Like, that's, please, just send that to my life. And he did, because here came my husband. But, it wasn't like this, oh, he already makes, 6 figures a year and you won't have to work, or you could just be, stay at home mom and blah, blah, blah. So it was never like that. And it's honestly, I have grown so much in my marriage, and so has my husband. And it only gets better every year. But I want to quickly give a synopsis of what we have gone through in our marriage so you can understand why it is that I'm passionate about helping other women in their marriages. And really, yeah, that's the gist of it. I've been through so much. And I want to preface that both my husband and I are alphas. I'm an alpha female. He's an alpha male. He was a sniper in the Marine Corps, so very alpha male, very headstrong. So we have fought a lot. And at the beginning of our marriage, it was like really bad. I mean, we would fight all the time, but it's like we loved each other so much. It's like we had such a fire for one another. So when it was great, it was great. But whenever it was bad, it was really bad. I mean, no like physical altercations or anything like that, but just like very passionate type of people, right? So basically what happened was we moved to Sarasota. I started working as a nurse at one of the hospitals here. I really didn't like it. Like, I give so much credit to nurses and teachers because I tried to be a nurse and I was like, this ain't for me. Like, I gotta be out like doing business stuff, or I don't know. It wasn't for me. So anyway, my husband actually got me a sales job as a credit card processing sales consultant. And so I started doing that, and I stuck with the company that I was with, and I then transitioned over to a major bank that I now still currently work for. So this entire time that we've been married, I have had steady income, steady employment. Whereas my husband, on the other hand, he is like an entrepreneur at heart, right? So he has had jobs and then he has quit them. Had a job, quit it. Had a job, quit it, right? And I'll be honest with you, like for me, it has been very hard because I grew up in a household where my dad he did the same job, like literally my whole childhood, and he did really well, right? He's a pharmacist and, it did really well, especially being like from a small town, right? And my mom, she was a nurse and she did well, and there was consistency there, right? So marrying someone who there was no consistency with, it it has been really hard. I'm not going to say that it is really hard because I have overcome that, and that's what I want to share with you guys, right? especially for those women that are like, what's my husband doing? Like, I don't feel like he provides. Like, I've been working this whole time. I've had kids. Like, I got you, girl, because that's what I've done this whole time. So, what I've learned throughout the years, well, first of all, if you don't have faith, then you don't have anything. If you don't have God, then you don't have anything. Because I'm telling you, we would have been done so long ago. Like, there's so many times that I have been like, I'm done. Like, I don't care. I'm gonna take the kids. I'm done, bro. Because it's been tough. I mean, giving birth to kids, clearly that's hard, but then you go and for the better part of an entire year, it's like you don't have any sleep. Like, I did all of that. You know, there was nothing from my husband. And it's not because he's not a loving dad. It's just, I think some dads are geared more towards kids as they get just a little bit older, even like, 3 or whatnot, but just a little bit more independent, I guess. So I did that. I've been working this entire time. I worked from home exclusively up until maybe a year and a half ago, whenever they started making us go into the office. And as I was working from home, I have watched all three of my kids up until they went to school. So also, if you do that, I completely understand how freaking hard it is. It's really hard. But I look back now and I'm really grateful that I did that, because it gave me the time to spend with them, and it also helped me to build my patience. And actually, it really taught me a lot of, I would say, coping skills for dealing with a whole lot of things come in and all at once, right? So I did that. I'm still continuing to work. And throughout that whole process, my husband has had good jobs, but then he's always felt this calling from the Lord to be an entrepreneur. So fast forward all the way to today, I am now at a place where I understand what faith is. I understand what taking risks are and doing it in faith because the Lord told you to do it, right? And we are still together by the grace of God, because I have just learned to lean on God, to give up control, to not try and control, to not have that controlling nature that came so naturally to me because I am an alpha female. And I think just females in general, right? It's like we want to feel protected. We want to feel like we know it's coming around the corner. We want to know what to prepare for, but sometimes you can't. Like in life, sometimes you can't. Like not just as a female, but we have a good friend of ours who just recently had to have surgery, open heart surgery. And that came out of nowhere, right? So there's so many things in life that we cannot control, and then we have to just have faith, right? And so my husband has been such an anchor in that. He's such a strong believer, and I respect him so much in that regard. And the things that I have learned over these past 13 years, I would say summed up are to truly put your trust into God, to not look to your spouse as your provider, and to pray for your spouse, to respect your spouse, and to really just, like I said, relinquish that control, right? Because when you're constantly trying to control things and perfect things and you get stressed out because things aren't working out your way, like it literally puts so much stress on you. But when you learn to let go, let your spouse handle things and expect them to handle things, but build them up, right? To say, yeah, like, I know you can handle that. Like, I'm just going to let you do that, right? It changes the dynamic of the entire marriage. So here comes my daughter. So that's where we're at. And I just feel like I've got such a wealth of knowledge that the Lord is leading me to share with other women, and in hopes that it will help other women. Like whether you're a Christian, whether you're not, the things that I'm going to share on this are things that are applicable to any healthy marriage. So I appreciate you being here. Thanks for listening. This is definitely long form, and I want to really build a community to where this isn't about me. Like I truly want to help other women because I've been so broken in my marriage, but now like I feel so happy in my marriage, and I just feel like whatever comes at this point, like I'm ready. Like, let's do it. Like, my husband, actually, he in November is not going to be in the position that he's in anymore. And we are stepping out in faith and we are starting a business. But this time around, I'm like, God's got this. I'm not even worried. I'm not stressed out. I'm not trying to control the situation. I'm not mad at him for not making, X amount of dollars per year so I can quit my corporate job. I'm like, I'm blessed to have this corporate job so it can anchor us so we can go out and take risks and build this business because I know it's happening. I'm faithful in that. And I want you ladies to be in the same position. Like, no matter what comes, you are faithful, right? So stay tuned. This is one of many a video that will hopefully give you guys some good golden marriage nuggets.